What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, we've got Robert DeFelice.
Hello, hello.
And Callum Wiggins.
I'm going to drown my sorrows in wrestling.
Yes, unfortunately, Callum just watched the World Cup.
And England lost to Croatia, unfortunately.
A country that I didn't even really ever remember exists.
They're 4 million to our 70 million, but those 4 million can really play football.
So if you can tell by the title that we've got going on here and the description and all the other kind of stuff like that, this is the predictions for Extreme Rules 2018. The pay-per-view is coming up this Sunday, so of course we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen, what we know is going to happen, what we don't know is going to happen. Why not? Let's talk about that too. What's not going to happen? That's kind of stupid.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's not going to happen. We're not going to see the Universal title.
Oh, that's a guarantee. Seems like we're not getting the Cruiserweight title at any of these fucking pay-per-views either anymore. But
we'll talk about that.
Yeah. We have, I think, 11 matches on the card right now. And I don't think we're going to get any more added now that we know what the kickoff is going to be. Kind of running theme lately has been that they kind of wait until the last minute for that. But this is probably as solid of a card as we're going to get. Maybe we get some kind of surprises here and there. I do think we're going to get some surprises in the matches themselves. And we're going to address that going forward. So, kickoff match itself. Might as well start there. SAnitY is going to face the New Day in a tables match. This came about because they put Xavier Woods through a table and because they wanted a tables match, essentially. I mean, this is standard WWE booking. You want a steel chair match at TLC, you have somebody hit somebody with a steel chair and suddenly it becomes, you two are going to fight in a steel chairs match. It's really basic, really generic. But,
you know, now that you said TLC, I just want to get this out there real quick and get your thoughts. What do you guys think about the pay-per-view schedule shifting and there no longer being a Clash of the Champions and TLC is back to December?
I will save my opinion based off of if Clash of Champions does come back, because there's a rumor that it is.
Oh, well then, screw what I said. Go on.
The current, like, kind of philosophy is that might take over the spot that TLC was at. So
no, because they're just doing October. They're just going to do the one in Australia.
I mean, like that live event. There's a live event that's on that day. So that might be like Clash of Champions live event kind of thing.
Interesting.
So
Weird.
If that happens, then that'll be kind of interesting. And, but I mean, we don't know. WWE doesn't even know. Let's be honest. Yeah, so I'm spoiling something. I have been writing up a lot of content this week about Extreme Rules, and normally by this point in the week, I'm getting sick and tired of talking about the same topics and stuff. The positive when it comes to Extreme Rules this time around, I'm actually not sick and tired of writing about some of the different topics, because some of them are pretty interesting, and you're going to be seeing a post later on this week that's going to be ranking the gimmick matches. And tables matches, to me, are kind of a double-edged sword. They're fun, but they're not. And they're interesting, but they're boring. I think that this could be a good match. But you got to keep in mind that the whole point of a tables match is to go through the table one time. And a lot of it can just be, oh, are they going to go through the table? No. Are they going to go through the table? No. It's kind of like last man standing thing. So I like that SAnity's on the card. I like that the New Day's on the card. I also kind of don't like the fact that they're doing this, though, because I kind of wanted SAniTY versus New Day to be for the tag titles later on in the year. So I'm sort of 50-50 on this. How you guys feeling?
God, they jumped right into that. Let's put them against New Day, and because it's Extreme Rules, let's just have them go through tables. I like it because I think tables matches can be fun when done properly, but I don't know, I have a feeling this will be very basic and kind of dull, and because it's the kickoff, they might even do the one guy has to go through the table, and that's it, and I see Woods probably being that guy.
Do we know for certain that it's just the one man through the table?
I don't.
Stipulation.
I'd love it if it was all three have to.
Yeah, I kind of think this gives you a lot more freedom to get around the usual boring aspects of the tables match, which is a lot of stalling around, potentially going through the table and pushing tables out of the way and stuff like that. I think you could have a lot more fun with, I'd say, probably everyone except Killian going through the table, because I assume that he would be the person you want to push the most out of this. I think the match should be good. Both teams are decent. I don't think they've done a particularly good job of presenting SAnitY since their debut. So they need a big win on an event. So beating the New Day, who have tons of credibility and are pretty much safe whenever you want to beat them, they'll always come back because they're so popular and can always find themselves right back in the tag team title picture at a drop of a hat. I'd say it's pretty safe to just give SAnitY a victory here.
Yeah, SAnitY is definitely going to win.
I hope we get Nikki Cross in SAnitY soon. I'm kind of guessing they're not going to do it, but she just really completes the package.
You know what I'd really like to see here that I'm just going to throw out because it's not going to happen? I'd love to see SAnitY put themselves through a table. If you have that,
cool.
that 3 have to go in, you have to go through the table kind of a scenario, have the 2 members of the New Day, assuming SAnitY wins, of course, have Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston go through a table, and it's 3-on-1 for Big E. And then Alexander Wolf throws himself through a table just to show that they're crazy. That'd be kind of neat. Not gonna happen.
I'm with it.
I find that kind of thing interesting. The match should be decent, so that's good. It'll be a kickoff that is actually fun.
I wish that another match was on the kickoff, but I don't think they want to do 205 live matches on pay-per-view anymore because I think they want to keep that brand separate, and I don't think that they want to put any of the title matches on the kickoff, so I guess we're stuck with this.
SummerSlam is going to be the real test for that. If they don't put the cruiserweights on SummerSlam, that's a big fuck you to them.
Well, I think they might get on the SummerSlam and the Mania cards, but for the monthly pay-per-views, I think they just want to keep the brand separated.
I would have preferred to see the Mustafa Ali Buddy Murphy Extreme Rules match on this card compared to a lot of the other matches. Put it that way.
That was a great match.
That was good. Hideo Itami had a good one with Cedric Alexander last night too. Not as good, but still pay attention to 205 Live, everybody. If you want quality in-ring action, they fucking perform. They do a good job. They're not the most bombastic characters, but you don't need that to be good in the ring, Sadly, I have to go to this match next. I don't know why I picked this one, but Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin. I'm more into this than I thought that I would be, but I also don't think it's going to be all that good. It's kind of weird.
I'm not a fan of Baron Corbin now wrestling in corporate casual gear. It kind of irritates me.
I don't want to say disagree because I don't really mind too much about the costume that he's wearing. But I think the character shift has been a breath of fresh air for Baron Corbin.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's so needed this complete new gimmick, which sounded stupid to start with, but he's grown into the character. The shaved head look suits him well. The fact that he's using his position of power to try and bully people around, it makes sense. And he's picked on Finn Balor because he's a small guy and he's a tall guy. So this is pretty much Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan, except that Corbin is infinitely more charismatic than Big Cass is.
And the size difference isn't as much.
I like that he tweeted at Balor, 205 Live will be waiting for you.
That's good.
That made me laugh.
I do have to say that they've done more for this feud on their own social media accounts than Creative actually done building this feud. So credit to them for that.
Not surprised.
That's what it's for. That's the way talent should be using social media.
Now, I'm going Finn Balor here, but I think that this is one of those toss-up ones. If they went with Baron Corbin, I wouldn't be all that shocked.
I'm going with Corbin, maybe by a roll-up or something shady. Maybe he hits him with a chair or something, but I'm going with Corbin.
Yeah, I'm going to go Corbin as well. I just think It's a good way to just firmly establish his character as somebody that will be a presence going forward. And I could see this being a feud which extends out to maybe SummerSlam, but on obviously more of a kickoff show match for SummerSlam.
Yeah, if that continues to SummerSlam, it's going to be Kickoff. But
since we mentioned SummerSlam and we're talking about Balor, we haven't. The Demon on the main roster has been a SummerSlam exclusive.
I don't think we're seeing it.
Yeah, I think he's. I don't want to say they've shelved the character, but they're pushing the Balor thing a lot more and the inclusivity of his character. And I think that they're saving the Demon for if he actually has an important match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon. I don't even think we're going to see it at WrestleMania next year.
That's unfortunate. That was a huge part of his character, and
that was the only part of his character. Yeah, we talked before about Finn's kind of devoid of character. That was like, oh, look at that face paint. That's kind of cool. And then that was basically it. This is a match that I think I'm going to kind of skip ahead a little bit by saying something that I'll refer back to later on. I think that the Raw Tag Team Championship outcome depends on the United States Championship and the SmackDown Women's Championship. I think that seems kind of crazy, but you'll understand. The Leaders of Worlds are going to defend the titles against the B Team. I can 100% see a scenario where the B Team wins the titles, not only because of Bray Wyatt's injury, but also because he was cited for reckless driving, and because the B Team is kind of getting more over than what the Leaders of Worlds are. Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt are not a strong tag team. And if you're going to have a weak tag team drop it to the Authors of Pain later on, you might as well have the B Team do it, you know?
Well, I'm going to defer back to what I was saying to you during the hot tags, and just, they have killed this impression thing with the Deleters of Worlds, because Bo Dallas imitates his brother perfectly, and even Axel is having a lot of fun as Woken Matt Hardy. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say they add the Revival to this one last minute.
And they win?
I think Revival wins. If they get added to it, Revival wins the tag titles.
I think they'll probably go to. I'd see the Revival as the next challengers based on the fact they've gotten a slightly more renewed push on Raw recently. But in terms of this match, I think it speaks quite a lot that the B Team have won every single singles match between them becoming number one contenders and them having this match. I mean, by WWE's logic, it's usually you win the match before the pay-per-view, then you're going to lose on the pay-per-view. Whereas they've just been winning. It's almost like they're building them up to lose even more spectacularly. And I don't know whether the reckless driving thing will come into play. I mean, one of the Usos was found guilty for drink driving while still a tag team champion and kept holding that title for a while when they could have easily dropped it to the New Day or something.
And Jeff Hardy is probably still.
Yeah, I mean,
figure out what happened there.
It's not a guarantee or anything like that, but it certainly doesn't help him.
No, it definitely doesn't help his case, and of course the injuries as well. We don't know
that's
how
the bigger
mobile
thing.
He's going to be. Yeah, we don't know how mobile he's going to be in the ring. But like the feud's been okay for a comedy feud. It annoys me a bit that it's for a championship, but it's the Raw Tag Team Championship, so it doesn't mean anything. So it might as well be a comedy feud.
It bugs me that not only the challengers, but the champions and most of the other tag teams right now
are jokes. Yeah.
Or they're all jokes on Monday Night Raw.
I was actually gonna defer back to the article that you wrote for WrestleZone, where you just said the Raw tag team scene is barren. Not that SmackDown's tag team scene is much better, but the Raw tag teams are just devoid of any character or want to see them, really. I don't even care if we see the Raw tag titles right now, and that's a shame because you have a lot of people in NXT working really hard to establish tag team wrestling, and they get up to the main roster and it's like, to quote Drew, It doesn't really matter.
I don't know. It's just a sad state of affairs, and that's why I'm kind of like, you know what? If that's going to be the way that the Raw Tag Team Championship is going to be around now, just give it to the fucking jokes. Just give it to the B Team. But I do think it depends on the other titles that change hands. And that's kind of something that I want to factor in with the United States Championship, but I'll get to that in a second. I am going to still lean towards Wyatt and Hardy retain. How are you guys going?
I'll go Deleters of Worlds as well.
If they add the Revival, I'm going Revival. If not, they've just done way too much to build the B Team that I think they're just building them to fall. So Hardy and Wyatt as well.
So as I just said a second ago, I think that the United States Championship will have a factor in on this, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you look at like Raw and SmackDown being separate and all that, but hear me out. I don't think we're going to have 3 championships change hands on this card. I do think we're going to get 2. And I think that the United States title is one of them. I think Jeff Hardy is too banged up. He was wrestling a little bit weird on SmackDown. I think that Shinsuke Nakamura needs the title because he needs to offset the fact that he's lost so much momentum this year. I mean, he started off the year as the Royal Rumble winner, defeating Roman Reigns last, and he loses at WrestleMania, he loses at Greatest Royal Rumble, he loses at Backlash, he loses at Money in the Bank. The guy needs a win, and he needs a win that matters. You know, if he gets a win over Jeff Hardy on a fucking episode of SmackDown, it doesn't matter. But he gets the title, suddenly he's kind of back into the swing of things. And I think the fact that they pushed that Andrade and Sin Cara feud as long as they did was because they originally had planned on Andrade St. Almas being the next United States champion. And then they decided, fuck, we need to do that with Nakamura instead. I think that's a key thing here. So I'm going Nakamura, and I think that that's the one title that I'm the most confident in changing hands. And I'm going to refer back to this again later on, but Nakamura, I think, is winning the title.
Nakamura needs this championship. It's the fact that he's lost so many opportunities at the WWE Championship shows that there's a ceiling for him in WWE's eyes. That they don't see him as even though his heel work, I think, has been excellent since WrestleMania, I don't think they picture him as a WWE champion. But a mid-card champion, sure, I'm pretty sure they'd be happy for him to hold the title. It's just a case of whether they want to do it now or they think they can stretch it out even further. I think, like you say, Hardy is far too injured at the moment. He has been carrying what seems to be like some sort of leg injury or knee injury for, well, basically since he came back almost, probably since a couple of weeks after he came back. He's been holding the championship for a while. He hasn't really done too much with it, even though I like the face paint in the open challenges and things to that nature. I think Nakamura needs to gain a little bit of prestige and like more of an aura back to him, and he can do so by holding a championship for a while.
Let me just say, since you brought up the whole open challenge thing, I think that's becoming way too much of a crutch for the mid-card titles. Oh, we'll just do a United States or Intercontinental Open Challenge. So I'm hoping we can get to some solid champions to where they're not doing that all the time. But not to beat a dead horse from what you guys have said, Nakamura needs this title. He needs this win. I don't think we can bother to see if you want to stretch it out because he needs this now. Otherwise, he's just another wasted guy on the card. And this will kind of continue the trend of like major United States champions, even though so many better people could probably be in the world title picture. I think the US title, for some reason, always has like a really top-notch champion now. They've had Randy, they've had Jeff, AJ, even John not that long ago. But Nakamura needs to win here. I don't know what he'll do afterwards, but he at least needs some kind of main roster accolade that actually matters.
Yeah. Fully agreed. So I'm gonna skip to the other one that I think is a factor in here, even though I don't think that this is like the lineup of the card kind of necessarily. But the SmackDown Women's Championship. Carmella is going to be defending against Asuka, and they just added the stipulation that James Ellsworth is going to be hanging over the fucking ring with a shark cage.
No, he's not. You're lying.
That's true.
Spoiler, I didn't see SmackDown. Really?
Yeah, it's Extreme Rules. That's the most extreme stipulation you can get, a shark-related match.
Well...
Question number one, though. How do they have the shark cage thing and the steel cage?
That's what I was going to say. If he's going to be in a shark cage, can he be in a shark cage within the cage of the...
I hate the stupid shark cage thing. I really fucking hate it. And I really even, like, it gets under my skin even more. The fact that they first created it, like, under, like, the modern era, with this whole thing calling it a crash cage. They made a fucking toy after it.
The little toy? Yeah.
And then they, like, 2 weeks later, were like, now we're calling it a shark cage. There aren't any sharks. You don't even have a fucking shark boy on the roster. It's just stupid. I mean, I understand that is a shark cage, technically, but it's kind of like, why not call it a crash cage? Why not just never do it? Because it's stupid.
I mean, the shark cage as a concept is a real ineptitude of general managers, in the sense that, oh, we think that this is the perfect way to make sure that this person doesn't interfere, and then they always interfere in the match. So it's basically saying, okay, Ellsworth is going to influence this match somehow, whether it's to help Carmella retain the championship or it's going to accidentally cost her. That's the only question. But Ellsworth is definitely getting involved.
This is a really weird gimmick match because it's one of those old school type of matches that was a big deal. And, you know, when managers were prevalent in like the 80s in the South. And then all of a sudden in October of, was it 2016? They did it for NXT to kind of promote the toy, but it worked because it would keep Paul Ellering out of the match. And then they did another one like 2 weeks later. And they did another one with Enzo. So in like the span of maybe a year and a half, I think they've done 5 of these. And it's not that entertaining. You know, it really isn't. I kind of hope it's straightforward here, like I did last month, and that Asuka gets the win. Another one, much like Nakamura, who started the year off super hot, wins the Royal Rumble, and then just falls flat. And I don't understand why bother with that. Why even do that to such a strong character? Yes, everybody has to lose, but there is such a thing as losing too much.
Oh, this is my whole situation that I got going on with this. I want to see what you guys think, because I'm going back and forth. Losing too much when it comes to Asuka. She loses at WrestleMania, and it's like, all right, that, like, you can debate whether or not that's necessary. Another thing that you can debate on is whether you should take somebody with an undefeated streak and continue that, or flip things around. I think Asuka needs this. And I'm about 75% sure that she's going to win the title. But I also think that Survivor Series is the main factor here. I'm expecting Ronda Rousey to win that Raw Women's title at SummerSlam. And if we do the same thing that we had the last time around, which is champion versus champion at Survivor Series, we need to figure out who the SmackDown Women's Champion is going to be to fight Ronda. Do you go with Asuka loses this and Becky wins the title from Carmella at SummerSlam? So in the meantime, Ronda can fight Bayley, Ronda can fight Sasha, and Ronda can also fight Becky, being in the opposite roster. And then Charlotte wins the Royal Rumble, and we get Charlotte versus Ronda, and she's fought all 3 of the 4 horsewomen other than Flair. Or do you sacrifice Becky and you go with Ronda versus Asuka? at SummerSlam.
I don't think they'd give a second thought to sacrificing Becky. I think it's cute that you think that they would, because they haven't shown any type of faith in Becky Lynch as a character, which sucks. But as good as that idea is, I don't see them having that much faith in Becky. So yeah, I think they go with Asuka here, and if the goal is to get to Survivor Series for Ronda, I think there's no better match than Asuka versus Ronda, because you can do that almost cold with no real build other than baddest women on Raw, baddest women on SmackDown. Get that match out of the way. That way there's no question that WrestleMania should be Charlotte versus Ronda.
Well, I also kind of think, and this is something that we can get more into if it happens, but if Asuka wins the title here, I think she's turning heel at some point.
Okay.
It's a good idea with somebody as dominant as you want to portray her as, but it's been my main issue with the feud so far, in the fact that it's not the fact that you got a cowardly heel champion, and God knows we've seen far too many of those anyway, but it's not so much the fact that Carmella's a cowardly heel champion, it's that she's a cowardly heel champion that also dominates like 90% of the matches she's in, which is just the complete arse backwards way of doing things. Whereas I don't mind Asuka eventually turning heel off the back of this in a few months down the line, because there's a lot of good, strong baby faces on SmackDown. You could have a feud with Naomi, Becky Lynch, Lana if you're desperate, and Charlotte, obviously. But obviously, I think she needs to hold the championship before that and get a bit of steam as a babyface before she starts like staring down the people that she's currently been teaming with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she can't turn heel at, like, SummerSlam.
No. Just beyond SummerSlam, maybe just have a babyface versus babyface title match with Becky Lynch or something, and she has to be a little bit underhanded to win, just like the way that she used to have a feud with Ember Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she had to sometimes go to a bit more of a dastardly measure to keep her streak intact. So
I think that by Survivor Series, she'd be heel. That way you can get, like, heel Asuka versus babyface Ronda Rousey.
Well, let's not discount the fact that they might turn her heel for the month like they did to Nia Jax, because...
Yeah, they could do that.
You know, Nia was a heel last month.
She could just play that heel temporarily, that's right.
You guys mentioned the whole feud with Ember Moon, and that's exactly why she should have just lost there, because they dragged it out and they said, we're going to bring her to the main roster undefeated, and they gave it to Charlotte just because Charlotte needs to have everything. And now she doesn't mean as much. And if she loses here, I think, for me anyway, she's officially done. If she loses here, there's no turning back. Like, same, I'll even say, same with Nakamura. Nakamura loses to Jeff, officially done, no turning back. The match with Brian would be a novelty at this point.
Yeah, it really kills a lot of their momentum. And then you have to do more work to kind of bring them back to any kind of posterity. And that's where I kind of get in with the B-Team thing. I don't think we're getting 3 title changes. I think we're getting Asuka, and I think we're getting Shinsuke Nakamura, which makes me think that the B-Team's going to lose.
The B-Team doesn't need it, because unfortunately, they've been around longer, and they're already so far killed off that nothing would even matter. They come off as a joke now instead of a former Intercontinental champion that had the endorsement of Paul Heyman and one of the original NXT champions.
What's weird about this whole thing is I think that that's going to piss the crowd off. I think that they're going to be upset that the B-Team didn't win, and then that's going to just hurt Wyatt and Hardy even more, and they're not getting the same reaction that they did before. I think they're going to get booed. And I think that that's going to be one of those things where people are going to be like, depending on the position of the card, that Raw Tag Team Championship match is going to be a mood killer.
By the way, fuck the fact that this show is in Pittsburgh. I hate Northeast crowds. Yes, I am from the Northeast, but fuck them anyway, because they kill every show every single time we have to deal with the Northeast crowd.
So, push comes to shove, SmackDown Women's title. I'm going Asuka.
Oscar.
Yeah, I'll take Asuka as well.
All right, so we're going to continue the gimmicks here, but this is no title on the line. It's just a steel cage match between Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens. The reasoning being Kevin Owens keeps trying to run away, keeps failing at it. Braun Strowman has flipped his car. He's put him in a porta potty and thrown him around with a bunch of blue gunk. I don't quite understand that still.
Do you know what that is? That's that blue, like, toilet cleaner.
That's so weird that they would do that.
I had to really put some thought into that. But that was some blue toilet cleaner. I had to think about that for a while because that really bothered me that he was covered in blue after being in a porta potty.
Well, I hate to brush past this so quick, but, you know, even though Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens are two of my top favorites, they're definitely in, like, my top 5 entertaining people right now. I don't have anything to say about this. I just think it's Strowman wins. That's it. It could be fun. I have nothing to say.
I also have nothing to say, but I think Owens wins because this is a match with a gimmick that he can literally just get out of the cage. He can do something shady, run out of the cage, and would be the winner. And if you believe the rumors, they are advertising in San Antonio that in September he's going to fight Roman at Hell in a Cell, maybe even inside of Hell in a Cell. And I think you have to make Kevin Owens look strong again at some point. He's been such a comedy character since coming to Raw, and I think you have to make him look strong again. He needs to get away from Strowman. He needs the win here, and it's the perfect match to do it because he doesn't have to actually defeat Strowman. He can just run away and win, and I think that's where they need to go here.
Callum, what you thinking?
As far as this feud goes, it's been completely one-sided in the babyfaces, like, as Braun Strowman's favour, which I'm not entirely against because he's the more dominant guy. It's just the case that Strowman has clearly been the heel in this feud and Owens is the babyface, other than the fact that Owens has obviously been trying to run away from him and trying to avoid fighting him. But why would you be, like, wanting to fight him when this guy's flipped your car over, thrown you, like, from the stage in a porta potty, like, beating up your best friend,
threw you off a massive ladder?
Yeah. So essentially he's done, like, everything to Owens that most sane people would want to avoid getting in the ring with this monster, including the fact that in the past he's tried to kill Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar and Kane, all in different circumstances. So, and Big Show as well, probably. You can add him to that list as well in another steel cage match. So it's been again another just comedy feud. Basically, a lot of these matches at Extreme Rules just revolve around WWE's version of comedy. And I don't think the match will be too bad. I think it'll be a lot of Owens just trying to scramble up whenever he gets an opportunity. Strowman running into the cage a lot when he tries to squash Owens into it. And I could see Owens just sneaking out of the door and this feud extending into SummerSlam. Because you probably, if you are going to do the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match and you want to tease the idea of Strowman cashing in, Strowman probably has to have a match beforehand just to make sure he's in people's mind. And so another match where he gets his win back against Owens probably makes sense.
Well, do you guys think we see a finish where either A, he throws Owens through the cage a la Austin Big Show 99, or something where, let's say Owens is trying to climb out and Strowman gets on like the top rope leaning up against the cage and he does a power slam from the top rope and Owens falls through the ring and that's how he escapes the cage first?
Maybe. If Owens wins, it's going to be something like that.
Yeah, I could see something along the lines of Owens is about to like drop off the cage and Strowman like grabs hold of him and like Owens is like dangling a little bit and he's almost wanting Strowman to pull him back in because otherwise he'll fall. like you get him close to the announce table or something like that, and Strowman, instead of like pulling him in and winning the match, just decides, like, looks at the crowd
I'll let
and
him
just
win the
decides to
match
drop
and
him.
let him fall.
Yeah, because that seems to be the way this kind of feud has gone. It's not about Strowman beating Kevin Owens. It's about embarrassing and humiliating him and causing him as much pain as possible.
I like that a lot, but I'm going to put a WWE spin on it. So let's say he's really close to getting out, but Strowman reaches through the cage and grabs him by the legs and something where he's trying to pull him out back into the cage, and Owens falls, but he somehow loses his pants as he's falling, and he has to run up the ramp as the winner, but with no pants on, because that's very WWE humor for this feud. Like, oh, Owens wins, but he's naked. Ha ha. My God, you can see his penis. It's great.
And then his brother, Owen Kevins, comes out and attacks him.
And then Braun Strowman comes out.
Yeah, and then you get a tag team match at SummerSlam. Oh, let's see here. The Intercontinental Championship is on the line in a 30-minute Iron Man match. Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins. I think this is going to be the best match of the card. I think Dolph Ziggler is going to retain, just narrowly, just by one. And I'm hoping that it's like 5-4 or something like that. And I'll say one thing as far as predictions go that I don't necessarily buy into, but I think that there's a chance Dean Ambrose causes Rollins to lose.
I don't think we're ready for that yet.
SummerSlam's coming up. It's the only reason why.
But I'm so excited for this match. I wish it was an hour, because they've actually run pieces on both guys about how both guys have gone well over the 30-minute mark in matches before. So I think it just would be so much better if this match was an hour, but I understand that they don't think people had the attention span for that. That's fine. This match should be damn good. I'm surprised we're even talking about Ziggler in such a high-profile match. I don't think it lasts very long, however. That's why I'm going with Rollins for the win, because I don't think that they can commit to Ziggler for more than a month.
Let's see. The match will be great. The two are great in the ring, and they've got great chemistry together. Basically every match that Rollins has been on so far this year, it's been the best match of the entire show, so I don't see any reason why that would change with Dolph Ziggler as his opponent. I always prefer Iron Man matches that go an hour, because that actually feels like an Iron Man situation, but with this many matches on the card, like, we want to get home at some point, so I can understand why they want to limit it to 30 minutes instead. I think it's going to be a draw, and Ziggler retains on the essential, like, champion's advantage.
You know what I don't like about that? Every time they go to a draw, people immediately want the overtime, because in the main Iron Man match that people know of, Bret and Shawn, they immediately enacted this sudden death rule, but they don't ever do that for any other Iron Man.
Well, because Gorilla Monsoon isn't around anymore.
Oh,
to make the call.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I think Kurt Angle should, have some faith in his superstars to go to a sudden death. I hope that whatever involvement McIntyre has, it's very early on and he gets ejected very early on. But I'm really interested to see what they do with this match and how these guys try to separate this match from the other technical matches that they're already known for having, because you have to try to make this special in some way, because it's only 30 minutes. You've gone this long before. What are you going to do to make this match unique and make this match the real standout match? Because for Ziggler, I have to really believe this is the match he's going to hang his hat on. He's been talking about being the best damn performer in WWE for like the last 10 years. And this is the one match where, hey, you can prove it. And Rollins is on a roll. I don't see that stopping anytime soon. But I just have to wonder what they're going to do to make it special.
I think it's just going to be pure in-ring, and that's going to be how it's special.
But that's every match now.
But I literally am not going to complain with matches being... The match quality on WWE's TV recently has been a lot higher than I'm used to, so I'm not going to turn down another good match. Because, like, if the writing was a lot better, we'd be all smiling and happy about every single show at this point, but it's not.
Wouldn't that be great?
But that's the thing that's dragging it down, whereas the in-ring stuff is actually keeping things not to the point where I just want to completely stop watching, because the matches are actually pretty good. And if this match is going to potentially steal the show based on just what these guys are doing alone, I don't see why you want to change that formula too much.
Real quick, Ryan Satin tweeted this awesome thing. I think it was Ryan. I could be wrong, but they said, Ziggler, McIntyre, and the Revival. There's your Arn, Tully, Flair, and Ole. And I was just like, man, what a fucking badass lineup that would be if they would stick those four guys in a stable. And I would be into that, but that's neither here nor there. Just more that I wish they would do.
Well, we're all going Ziggler?
No, I'm going Rollins. Because I don't think they can commit.
I'm going Ziggler, but on a draw, so the draw is technically my result.
Yeah, they have had overtime in the past where they've said that that's fine. Angle was like, nah, fuck the idea of overtime, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that.
They could do that. That'd be a way to get heat, Ziggler and Rollins end up being a draw. It's 4-4 or 8-8 or whatever the hell you want to do. And then it's like, all right, we should go into overtime. And then he just goes, no, fuck you. It's a draw. I win. Like,
I think you can get away with it in the idea of the sense, like, it's been put into the card and given a strict 30-minute slot on the card. So if you stick it into the middle and say, oh, we can't give you overtime because we've got other matches we need to get to. So unless they decide to cancel one of the other matches, but I think that'll probably be a step too far.
I'll just hinge on that Ambrose thing. To me, that's I still don't think the weird prediction that I've got.
I would doubt he's medically cleared at the moment.
Oh, I have no idea. So it's just a random prediction that I got.
Like, he was out in, was it January or something like that? And they said it was going to be 9 months. So it's getting closer, but I don't think he'd be healthy yet.
We'll see. I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong.
I do hope that this delivers. I don't doubt it with the two guys involved, but, I am going into this one with just a lot of high expectations. This is one where I'm trying to shut my Smark brain off and just enjoy the fact that my two favorite male superstars are having an Iron Man match for the Intercontinental title.
All right, so we have 4 more matches to talk about here. The Raw Women's Championship is going to be on the line in an Extreme Rules match. Alexa Bliss defending against Nia Jax. We know Mickie James is going to be ringside, and we also know that Ronda Rousey is going to be ringside because as they put it on Monday Night Raw, she's going to be ringside, front row, to buy a ticket to go there. Yeah, they kind of fucked that one up. What they meant to say is she's going to be ringside and she's going to interfere in the match at some point. It's... they did this whole suspension angle. That way they could keep her off Monday Night Raw for a little bit, but she's still able to appear at Extreme Rules, still able to appear at live events, still gonna, it's a whole big stupid thing. Basically, they stretched it out. And I think the obvious thing here, I'm sure everybody's going to agree, Alexa Bliss retains, right?
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mickie gets involved. That fucks over Nia a little bit. Either Ronda gets involved during the match or she gets involved afterward. It's just a matter of what they do, not opposed to how they do it. Kind of.
Well, I think Mickie will be in Alexa's corner, but I also think Natalya will be in Nia Jax's corner.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case because she's been hanging around quite a bit.
Yeah. And then you do something afterwards, like after Alexa wins the match, they both attack Natalya, and that irks Ronda Rousey to jump the guardrail and start attacking. And then she gets suspended from Extreme Rules, and then she's also... Then that means next Extreme Rules event that comes along, she can't compete it because she's still carrying the suspension.
Well, that'll be the Extreme Rules match that they'll do. It'll be a suspension match.
Oh,
They'll be on
make
like a suspension bridge.
They'll make it an unsanctioned match because that isn't seen WWE, and the suspension isn't like respected on those rules. So,
can we talk about how cringy Nia Jax is? Can we just? She's not getting better. She's getting significantly worse as time goes on, as a character. Like her mic skills are just cringy. The only word I can use is cringy because I cringe every time she's got a microphone.
She doesn't sound very human, but that's a lot of people with the material they're given. But it's a sense of I used to have quite a low opinion of her, but after her and Ronda Rousey had a pretty great match at Money in the Bank, I'm kind of warming up to her again.
I mean, in the ring, she's great. What I'm talking about is character-wise. When you put a microphone in her hand and she goes, "And Alexa, our match is gonna be, ooh, I'm ready for this. Extreme, like there's no intensity there. She's trying to be more seductive than intensive there. I don't get why they continue to put a microphone in her hand. She would do great with Paul Heyman. Just saying. Heyman's got history with Samoans. I wish they would put him with Nia because she needs it.
Yeah, I can't fully disagree. We have 3 more. Yeah, the WWE Championship is on the line. AJ Styles defending against Rusev. This is, I've mentioned this a million times, so I really don't need to go down the same rabbit hole, but Rusev should have been a babyface months ago. They clearly say fuck you to the people that are chanting it. They want you to boo him. It's not really necessarily working, and that means that there's no chance that he wins this.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. They should have pushed him months and months ago. I mean, he should have won the United States Championship at WrestleMania. He should have done a lot of things beforehand. I think him and Aiden English could have held the Tag Team Championships. They wanted to do that earlier. There's a lot of things where they could have pulled the trigger on Rusev. I'm really excited about the fact that he's getting a WWE Championship opportunity because I've been a huge Rusev fan for years now. Like, through all of his iterations, before the Rusev Day stuff, I always thought he was one of the most entertaining guys on the roster. So I'm excited that he's finally getting an opportunity at the WWE Championship. But it's come too late into this Rusev Day thing where it still gets a reasonable pop, but it's nowhere near as capturing the imagination of the audience as it used to. And especially now that he's being treated as, like, just any other heel, it does... I mean, he still looks pretty vicious and dominating, but it's not who he was meant to be with the Rusev Day stuff. The Rusev Day stuff was meant to keep him as the really entertaining babyface. And that's not the way they've decided to go. He's essentially a stopgap feud between whoever AJ Styles will end up facing at SummerSlam, presumably Samoa Joe, who's, again, not even on this card. Just...
Very strange.
He wasn't even on SmackDown. You see what happened on SmackDown?
He was supposed to fight Ty Dillinger, and then they just didn't do it.
He beat up Ty Dillinger as a dark segment.
Yeah,
that's stupid.
WWE.com thing. Yeah, so that's a great way to take a guy who, before Backlash, was like, definitely one of SmackDown's hottest prospects and one of the hottest like properties on all of WWE. Then he falls to Roman, and then he's essentially just whittled down the card again. Just another guy.
And then you know what'll happen? AJ Styles will beat Rusev, and then they'll want to push Samoa Joe, and then they'll be like, why aren't people 100% into this? What do you mean you don't believe that? And it's like, because you didn't put any fucking stock in Samoa Joe for the entire time he's been on the main roster. He missed 2 WrestleManias.
Which is the case with this match as well. It's like, why aren't people chanting Rusev Day or getting behind this match more? It's because you should have done, if you wanted to do this match, you needed to do it like, this should have been the Backlash match. I know you had the thing with the Shinsuke Nakamura thing, but you didn't have to go that way. Or you should have given Rusev the United States Championship and let him hold that instead. It's like...
Yeah. It's really... The booking with Rusev is so dumb.
Well, it's just a case of they captured like something special with him, but it wasn't special at the right time for them. Like, they had to wait until they were ready to embrace Rusev Day. And it's instead of like, imagine if this was the way with like Steve Austin or whatever, if they decided to, we're going to wait until like after WrestleMania 13 to like push him higher, then we'll give him a win over Bret Hart or something like that. It's like, you've got to take the opportunities when they're presented for you. You've got to see when somebody's doing something that's really resonating with the audience, and they follow their structure. They don't follow what the fans want often enough. They do sometimes. I'm not going to say they do it like constantly, but they could do it a lot more often than they do.
First, let me say, I love when we do one-off title matches, because I don't think that everything needs to be, here's a series of 3 matches. I like when one guy can sneak in and have a one-off title match, and I'm really excited for this match in that sense, that I feel like it's going to be special and we'll only see it once. That being said, I've said this every time I've had to talk about Rusev since WrestleMania. He's over as a meme, and I don't dislike Rusev. I loved the original character with Lana being pretty much his handler and yelling "Crush," and he was a badass. I loved that. But Rusev right now, the whole "it's Rusev Day," it's just such a meme. It's the crowd wanting to chant something nonsensical to try and put themselves over. Hey, look at us, we did that, we got Rusev over, fuck him, he was useless before we started chanting Rusev Day. And I just think Rusev is better than that. But I also want to talk about how, unfortunately, as much as I love AJ, his title reign is kind of starting to feel like a dud to me as well. What do you guys think about that?
His title run has sucked, and it's gone on far too long. I mean, let's put it this way: the last champion was Jinder Mahal, so it's an upgrade on that. But I don't think he's done anything really with the championship. It hasn't felt. I mean, it's felt long, but it hasn't felt special.
I agree with you. I think that they're kind of resting everything right now on SmackDown as, but look at all the cool wrestlers we have. We've got AJ's our champion, and we have Bryan's back, and we have Nakamura. We gave you guys AJ and Nakamura. Why aren't you, drooling over SmackDown? And because they're not treating it as main event as it should be treated.
Well,
and
let's look back at like AJ's reign. So AJ defeats Jinder Mahal, and then he wins the rematch against Jinder Mahal. Then he's thrust into the middle of Kevin Owens' and Sami Zayn's feud with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. So he's just essentially the byproduct of that, of another person's feud. Then he's thrown into a multi-person match at, was it Elimination Chamber?
Right.
Or, it wasn't Elimination Chamber, it was...
Fastlane, the Fatal
Fastlane, yeah. And then he's thrown into... And then he's into this feud with Nakamura, which everyone was so excited for, but they just dragged it out for far too long. So no wonder people have started to see him as a bit of just a dull champion. And it's just the fact that not only has all his feuds been quite repetitive, or he's been a third wheel pretty much in the feud, it's that he's cutting the same promo over and over and over again. He doesn't say anything different. He just says, like, I'm going to fight and defend this championship, and because this is SmackDown Live, the house that AJ Styles built, and it's going to be phenomenal, or something to that effect. And then he goes out and has a match, which is usually good, but I don't think he's really had a great match. I mean, the Nakamura last Wednesday match was pretty great, but I don't think he's had a real standout match in 20... Like, compared to a lot of the huge matches we've seen in NXT and a lot of other WWE matches we've seen with Rollins in particular, AJ hasn't had that match yet. This match could be good, but I don't see it being great. The match with Samoa Joe down the line will probably be great, but it just hasn't been a very memorable title reign.
Yeah, it's not the best in the world or anything like that. It's not going to be at the end of the year that I give that the best title reign in the awards or anything like that. I don't think that it's horrible, but I also think that part of it isn't AJ Styles' fault. The promos are definitely his fault. Like, those are bland. But if he would have moved on from Nakamura, I think it would have been better. He's basically only feuded with Nakamura this whole year. That's not good.
Yeah, I thought if you would have lost it to Nakamura and then won it back at this point, that would have been better, just to add a bit of variety to it.
Yeah, maybe. That would have been good.
But I'll even say for AJ, the promos from him, he's crutching on things. Hey, get the fans to chant, "This is the house that AJ Styles built." You know, there's not a lot of originality and thought being put into anything going on right now, because it all just seems paint by numbers and stale. I know we're running a little long here. Does anyone think that AJ is losing? No, right?
No.
No, absolutely not.
It'd be shocking, but I don't see Rusev walking into SummerSlam as WWE champion.
I mean, you never say never. Jinder Mahal won the title, but I don't see it.
I don't think WWE are trying to penetrate the Bulgarian market, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. The Bludgeon Brothers are going up against the newly reformed Team Hell No. This is a tough one. I think that there's a chance that Team Hell No wins, but I'm not banking on it. I'm assuming that The Miz causes an interference.
Yeah, something. I think Miz gets in Bryan's way. Kane eats the pin because he's got a campaign to win, because he's got a shot, you know? Kane has a shot. But I don't know if Kane is sticking around. Maybe they do win. You know, they have shown interest in putting the tag team titles on a couple of main event guys, like they did last year with Seth and Ambrose, just to get that pop, you know?
I think it's obviously totally dependent on how long Kane sticks around for. This strikes me as the type of match where I think the choice of who's winning it has changed multiple times over the last few days, or the last few weeks even. And yeah, it would be a really cool moment for Team Hell No to win the championships again. Part of me thinks that this is going to be a typical WWE swerve of Kane actually is still angry at Daniel Bryan, chokeslams him, and then that's the match at SummerSlam between those two, and that's Kane's final match, which is facing Daniel Bryan one-on-one. Because, like, still to my knowledge, and I haven't really checked out too much, to my knowledge, Daniel Bryan still, his contract is still expiring towards the end of the year.
Correct.
He hasn't, as far as I'm aware, or any dirt sheets or anything, he hasn't signed a new contract. So you don't want to push him too high, because if you want to put him in the main event scene or put him in the WWE Championship picture, then you can't really do much with him other than have him lose, because he might not be under contract when he's holding the championship. But
let me just say real quick, I don't see Bryan not re-signing, because that would be a terrible move for his health and his family, and they've cleared him to wrestle. I think he has what he needs, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think that he's going to... I mean, it would make no sense for him to not sign. Like, what's he going to do? Not sign, go to other companies, fight other people, and do that after he won the whole thing that he's been fighting 2 years for, which is to get re-signed by WWE for, like, that kind of thing?
I don't think his goal was to ever get re-signed by WWE. His goal was to
wrestle. I mean, like, to be brought back in that. I used the wrong term, but, like...
Yeah.
You know, the whole, like, I want to wrestle again, and he fights for 2 years to do it, and then WWE's finally like, all right. And then for the past couple of months, they weren't even, like, making him have to do shit that he wouldn't normally do. Like, it's not like he was like, okay, well, you can wrestle, but you can only wrestle, like, what Kurt Angle's done. He's been full-time. So...
Yeah.
It's got to be a negotiation type thing where it's kind of like, can I work less dates but still do the same stuff? And I'm sure WWE will end up doing it. So they're probably looking at this and going, we could do the Miz match at SummerSlam, or hopefully not the Kane thing. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's advertised for the Super Show in October, right?
Correct.
So that's October. His
Card
deal
subject
ends
to
in
change.
September.
Card subject to change, obviously.
Yeah, but it's usually at least somewhat decent indicator.
Well, let's just tell the truth here. Callum is speaking with his heart and not his mind. And
Oh
he
no,
wants...
I fully expect Daniel Bryan to eventually re-sign, but I just don't think it's. I don't think it's as straightforward as everyone expects it to be. It's the idea of like, oh, WWE have his health best interest in mind. If they had his health in mind, he wouldn't be on a full-time schedule right now. If he wants to be on a full-time schedule, that's completely up to him. But it's a case of if he was working the independent scene, he could probably making a lot more money than he's on now, working a lot less dates, because every promotion from New Japan to Ring of Honor to Mexican promotions to other places in Japan and across the United States and in Europe would pay significant sums of money to get him to just appear every now and again. So it's not as straightforward as I think people were making it out to be. He could definitely make as good, if not better, a living on the independents because he's got more of a name value than basically everybody else in the independent scene. But I do think he will re-sign. But until then, I think he'll be kept down a little bit because they won't want to push him too hard. The Miz feud makes sense because there's no title at stake there, so they can just get that out of the way. But Bryan has said that he wants that feud to be held at WrestleMania instead. But he doesn't.
I think they could still do that though.
Yeah,
Like they could have a match at WrestleMania after having a match at SummerSlam if they get the WWE Championship on the line.
I think if they want, I would say like this would be like 100% like him demanding that this would happen. But if they do want to keep him around and they do see value of him being pushed back up to the main event, then maybe they should just like stay cool on that feud for a while because he said he wants it at WrestleMania. So if they do want to show that they are interested in keeping him around the WWE Championship scene, then like just to drag it out for a little bit, just extend it. Don't like drag it out in the way that we've dragged out other feuds so far this year, but like build it slowly. You can still have the match at SummerSlam. I think the match at SummerSlam makes sense. I think a match with Kane, whether it's not saying the most exciting, it still does make sense if they do decide to go down this route. But even another way, they could win the tag team titles and defend the tag titles at SummerSlam.
Yeah. Or shit, if Jeff Hardy's that injured, you could have Daniel Bryan versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States title.
Yeah, there are many different routes for Daniel Bryan heading into SummerSlam, which is why I think you kind of have to keep the titles on the Bludgeon Brothers because without the titles, they're just nobody's again.
Yeah. Agreed. Robert, you going with Bludgeon Brothers as well?
Yes. I am going with the Bludgeon Brothers, assuming that Kane is not sticking around.
All right, and that leads us to the final thing we're going to talk about here, Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley. We know that it was supposed to be a multi-man match. It turned into just these two because those were the only two that were advertised for the multi-man match to begin with. It was supposed to be a number one contenders match to fight Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Then it became, no, it isn't. There's a chance that Brock Lesnar might not fight at SummerSlam. Now it seems like it's more likely that he is, but maybe not. I kind of don't care. I don't like this Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley feud.
Jeez, Tony, how do you really feel?
I've said it all.
This match is going to get hijacked. Like every Roman Reigns match gets hijacked nowadays. And
the crowd's going to eat this alive.
Yeah, and I know we say this last because there is unfortunately a very real possibility that this is the main event of the show. And
I think it's a guarantee.
I think it's close to be a guarantee. I mean, just by the strength of the fact that they just don't seem to want to put the WWE Championship match in main events, and especially with the fact that Rusev is in a match where he almost certainly won't win, it doesn't seem like they would want to put the WWE Championship in the main event slot there. Yeah, this feud is. I think if they have done all the stuff they've done with two guys which are more over than these two, this would be a really hot feud. I think they've done some smart things in booking them. The tag team stuff is a little bit overplayed, like the oh, we don't really get on, but we're forced to team with each other thing is a hand they play far too often. But it could have worked, and I think again, if it was two other people, then it would have worked. The pull apart brawl is a thing they've gone to a couple of times over the last few years, but it tends to do well when it's the right guys. And I thought it was quite an entertaining and fun brawl between these two, and it did get the crowd invested. But I don't think this is the right crowd for these two guys. Lashley will, if any one of them is going to be the more over of the two, it's going to be Lashley. And
you think so?
I just don't think New York crowds get behind Roman Reigns at all. They like to be the smarter people.
But is the smarter pick in this case Bobby Lashley? Like, I think Lashley has just as much, if not more, of the stigma that Reigns has.
We're gonna chant for CM Punk.
Oh yeah, they're gonna do that stuff, but it's just a case of like they're gonna.
I expect full chance of we don't want this, or just fuck this match, just ridiculous shit.
I do agree that he has a lot of the same stigmas attached to Roman Reigns, but he just doesn't have the longevity or he hasn't like worn people down for as long as Roman Reigns has because he hasn't been around as long. So he'll get the same sort of treatment that a Jinder Mahal or something like that would get, whereas we still don't like you, but we like you a bit better than the other guy you're facing. So we'll target him instead.
So I'm going no contest.
Seriously?
Yep.
Yeah. I wrote this because much like Callum, I had to talk about this match for the triple threat, and I said, if I have to put a gun to my head, I'm going Roman. But my gut tells me no contest, and that they come out on Raw bitching and moaning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, SummerSlam's next. Who's fighting Lesnar? And then you get well, guess what? You're both gonna fight Lesnar. And
yeah, and that way they do some kind of bullshit where Brock Lesnar doesn't take a pin.
But before we get there, I do want to say I've been following social media a lot more, and there are a lot of people who are really into this feud. They're all saying, I'm surprised I'm liking this as much as I have. I think they like when the feuds get personal with the promos, like, Reigns going, hey, Bob was here, but he left to try to go be a big shot, and oh wait, that didn't work out for you, so he had to come crawling back. And everybody loves whenever anyone says to Roman, if I was here full time, you wouldn't be the guy, shut your mouth. So it is working for some people. My main gripe with this match is that it's the one match that's been personal and there's no stipulation attached. I really think that at Extreme Rules or Street Fight, no DQ, whatever name you want to give it, put a stipulation on this where the guys can kind of get a little wild and people will be more into it. To me, that is intentionally sabotaging this match by saying we're going to make it as a standard one-on-one match so that people are even more bored after having seen, they're going to be tired from Brian. They're going to be worn out of anything Extreme Rules wise because they'll have already seen weapon spots and stuff like that. So this match doesn't have a lot going for it. But yeah, I guess we're going to go with the no contest so we can get to a potential triple threat.
If you're going to piss people off, you might as well piss them off in every regard.
Yeah, you might as well just keep shoving it down their throat. I don't know. I'm kind of holding out hope that, yes, they book Lesnar for a match at SummerSlam, but he shows up on Raw to hype that match, and Strowman cashes in when he's not.
I'd be so fucking down for that. Oh,
man. They have to, at this point, just get it off of Lesnar on an episode of Raw. Make people regret turning it off, as I have been turning it off lately. I'm pretty sure Callum doesn't watch the whole show.
No.
Tony has to because it's his job. thankfully I'm not on Raw coverage, but make people regret turning off Raw. Put that title on Strowman on an episode of Raw. That's what I would do here. It's not that I don't even care about Reigns versus Lesnar or Lashley versus Lesnar, because these matches themselves can be good, but the novelty of Lesnar is so far gone. It's so worn off. People don't care when he shows up anymore. They just want him to go away permanently. And
I was going to say, with regards to this feud, I'd say I understand why people have gotten into it because of the inside quotes. I think it's a really overplayed and way of getting, I don't want to say be critical, but easily manipulated people to get excited about these sort of feuds. I think the stuff they've been saying about Lashley being a legitimate fighter is just another way of saying wrestlers aren't real tough guys.
Yeah. Doesn't that bother you? Like, okay, specifically us, who we all cover this for our jobs. Why do they come out on TV and be like, well, fuck you, Roman, you're not legit, I'm legit. Why are you telling your fans that? I just...
Because people know that wrestling's fake, so
well,
they think they can get away with it.
But you're still coming into the fake show and being fake. If you're gonna go all in with the wrestling is fake, you have to go all the way. It doesn't make it any more real that Lashley's there now. It just means Lashley's here to do fake fighting.
Yeah, and the match itself, like, I don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. It has the potential to be good or bad. I don't think, well, it's going to be bad because of the reaction to it. So that's going to drag it down whether the match would be good or not.
Do you remember Reigns versus Joe at Backlash?
I try not to.
I'm expecting that part too.
Well, it would be worse than that because Lashley's worse than Joe is. So, but I'm going to go with a straight up Roman Reigns wins. Just because everyone sees it in the cards of him facing Lesnar at SummerSlam, whether it does happen or it doesn't happen. But that's the narrative they've been playing since WrestleMania, so I don't see any reason why they don't just stop. They wouldn't stop it now to give Lashley a win, which would make so much more sense logically, but who cares about logic in WWE?
The only person that Roman Reigns has beaten straight up and walked away from has been Jinder Mahal this year. Reigns needs to be Lashley. I just don't think it's going to happen. But at that point, for someone who's supposed to be a big deal, the only person Lashley's beaten up this year has been Sami Zayn. So Lashley also needs a win here, so you're fucked either way. And it's going to be hard to sit through, but we're going to try.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see, because I think that this pay-per-view has quite a bit of promise, but it also has the potential to just completely crumble with that main event. And we'll see how it goes. Post-show is going to be coming up after the pay-per-view. Coverage, of course, on smarkandmoment.com. Tell us what you guys think is going to be happening on this. Whether you agree, you disagree, you're excited, you're not excited, whatever the case may be. Chime in, tell us your opinions on anything that you want to talk about. And if you want to be aware of the next things coming up on the channel, the mailbag is going to be coming up after the post-show. So start sending in your mailbag questions as soon as you can.
Technically after the hot tags, but yeah.
Yeah, technically after that. But yeah, that's coming up next week. All the other stuff on smarkandmoment.com you can find obviously on smark.moment.com. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel here and ring the bell for notifications. And also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at smarkoutmoment. Follow Fanboys Anonymous on fanboysanonymous.com and all the other social media platforms, YouTube and so on and so forth. I think that's probably all I want to plug on that, other than the Patreon and the TeePublic. If you want to show your support on the monetary side of things, buy a t-shirt or hit up the Patreon or anything else like that. That's it from me. Callum, anything you want to toss out?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. They're trying to ignore the last few tweets. There are a lot of bit of ramblings of stuff that happened earlier in the day. Yeah, stuff that I don't really want to remember. So probably will end up deleting those tweets anyway. But other than that, on Smark Out Moment, I've recently written a piece on the Ultimate NXT Takeover card. So like just taking what I would assume would be the greatest matches in NXT, like over the course of all takeovers, and you can check it out and say why I'm wrong and why it was stupid to leave that guy off the card. Or you can say, oh, this sounds actually pretty good, and give me some praise for it. And also, I still have the article in there about Alexa Bliss and Ronda Rousey should be main eventing SummerSlam, in my opinion. I have a few more ideas batting around, so just keep an eye on the website for any more articles coming from my end.
Rob?
WrestleZone.com for your daily wrestling news. Dude Felice on Twitter and Instagram. I led the triple threat this week, as I will be every week going forward. This was more Extreme Rules talk. Next week it will be more Extreme Rules talk. Tune in 2 weeks when we can talk about something other than Extreme Rules. Outside of that, like I said, follow TimekillerApparel.com. I'm working on some stuff with that brand. Hopefully I'll be relaunching that very shortly. And I think that's it.
Alrighty, everybody. That'll do this edition of the Pay-Per-Viewpoint. Thanks for listening as always, and we will see you when we see you. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.